Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Shaw Local Bears Insider Podcast. I am Chicago Bears beat reporter Michael Dwojak here with the Northwest Herald's Joe Aguilar as we are joining you guys on Thursday morning. It's cold out there. It is I don't know if we can you still call it bear weather, I guess, if the bear season is
Sure.
over, but it's bear weather outside. It's cold. It's going to be miserable tomorrow as we've got. I don't think we're going to go above 0 degrees yesterday. So make sure you hunker down, listen to some podcasts, maybe some Bears Insider podcasts, maybe read some Bear stories as you get ready for the weekend. But Joe, how you doing? You had a couple of days to reflect on everything, kind of get off with everything, and how Ben and Ryan joined us yesterday. But what are some thoughts a couple of days after the Bears season is over?
I still feel like I did after the game. I feel as good as you can knowing your team's season just ended. But all the positives, I know, boy, you go on social media, the more you get frustrated. And, there's still always going to be haters. I've said it throughout the year. But big picture, I can't remember the last time I felt optimistic going forward with this team. And it's a different vibe from 18 was said after the Cody Parkey, the double doink. It just feels different. I think it starts with number 18, right? It starts with the quarterback. Mitch was actually coming off a pretty good season that year, but, it wasn't the same as you have with Caleb. And, we'll talk about Caleb, but I still feel pretty good here, Michael. They're going to have tough decisions. Both Ben and Ryan Poles talked about that yesterday. You were there. But, there's issues every year. And it's not just with the Chicago Bears. So, I mean, here's the other thing, too. It's like when people talk about, the Bears, man, they got problems, and I don't know how they're going to do this. And, hey, all 32 teams, including whichever team wins the Super Bowl, will have similar issues going into the next season, navigating the cap, losing guys you're going to have to cut because you just can't keep them. So it's not just unique to the Bears that the issues they will face in the offseason.
Yeah, and Ben Johnson mentioned it yesterday. He said, like, this is a whole other different season. Like, obviously, I think if you're a general sports fan or general NFL fan, you're like, all right, like the guys are just kind of sitting around now until OTA start and training camp start. That's far from the truth. Like the other season starts now. Now you got to start planning ahead. You got a roster build. You got to do salary cap. You got to do extensions. You got to do free agency, draft prep, a bunch of different stuff you got to work on. Coaches obviously are going to be poached now from this coaching staff as well. So yeah, the season is over, but the work doesn't stop. So obviously we'll spend a lot of the off season talking about it. Thank you to everyone. I see we got a bunch of comments joining us on YouTube already. Thank you so much. If you're joining us on a live stream, give us a like there and subscribe. We would really appreciate it. If you're joining us on Facebook as well, make sure you give us a like there. You can comment and send your questions on the Facebook comment section. We should see those as well. So if you have anything you want to share, make sure you give us a comment there. And if you're joining us on the podcast, thank you so much for joining us there. Make sure you subscribe and rate us. Really appreciate it. I know we'll be a little bit more sporadic with the live stream now, so maybe we'll have more podcast listeners, but we'll try to make sure we'll give you guys at least 24-hour notice about when we'll be doing a live stream so you guys can join the conversation. And Rick's joining us, and he's got a comment that I think we could all agree upon. How can anyone be mad with the season that the Bears gave us? And I would agree with that. And it's kind of funny because going to yesterday's end of season press conference, it's like I think it was like my second or third one going as a reporter. And obviously I've listened throughout the years to all the different ones. And this had to be like the most boring one, I would say, probably in the past 15 years. I feel like every single year something goes wrong with these things, right? And I think what you see going on in Buffalo yesterday where the owner is talking over his GM, that was the Bears, right? Like last year, it was like, well, who are you going to bring? It was last year, the whole conversation was, is Ryan Poles even the GM? Kevin Warren is, big brothering him, and Ryan Poles is just sitting off there like a sad dog next to him. And then a couple of years ago, you got the Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles are coming back. And then who could forget the infamous Zoom end of year press conference with Ted Phillips says that they don't have the coach or the quarterback, right? But everything else is there. So I think it's worth noting things could be a whole lot worse. And yesterday, the conversation was, I think, really refreshing actually for both Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles, where it's like, all right, last year was great, fun. We got to move on to this year and we got to start from ground zero. And I don't know how you felt, Joe, just listening and reading some of the comments, but yesterday just had to be such a fun and refreshingly boring end of year press conference for a lot of Bears fans.
Yeah, well said. I think I'm a big believer in all things in life. You need to see the bad to know what the good looks like. And we were reminded of what the bad looks like when we saw the Buffalo Bills press conference. Not we got our own problems in Chicago. We don't need to pick on the Bills. But yes, it's a different tone. I mean, how far this organization has come, Michael. Yesterday was the 1-year anniversary of Ben Johnson's hiring. And where are they now compared to where they were a year ago? And even Ryan Poles, I was very critical up until the past 3 months of the job he's done. Even going into the season, we didn't know. But I think this is a real important season. Maybe if anybody, it's an important offseason for him because this draft class, as we've talked about throughout the season, was phenomenal. I mean, wow, the contributions they got up and down this draft class. And we didn't see two guys really all year. Shamar Turner, who got hurt early. Then the other kid, the DB, who would have probably played a lot, Zay Frazier, unless he just stunk. I mean, but there's certainly reasons for him that you would have thought he had a chance to play in his length and interesting player. They said he's going to be back next season, which is good going into camp anyway. So it's just a different vibe. And now you could start talking about filling in the other pieces because you're set at the GM, you're set at the head coach, you're set at quarterback. But for Poles, this is a big offseason. It's going to be another big draft. Can he duplicate it? I think someone asked him yesterday, this is probably your best draft class. And I'm probably, what? Probably. I mean, got Caleb in Rome last year, but by far, this was your best up and down draft class that he's had. So now, can he duplicate it? Doesn't have to be as good, but it's got to be strong because you're going to need another good draft class if you're going to continue to build.
Yeah, for sure. And that obviously, I think we all can agree that Ben Johnson and his coaching staff played a role in that as well. And Ryan talked about how that's going to need to continue. And we'll address, some draft stuff moving forward. But yeah, I would agree. Like the whole thing, I mean, it just feels different. And I think, a year ago, I think, Joe, when we were talking in August about what the season is, what are we looking for this season? The two biggest things were whether the Bears got the head coach right and whether they got the quarterback right. And I don't know. I think you can pick on both. I think you can pick on any quarterback and any coach in the league. Obviously, there are some flaws in everyone. Like no one's perfect in this league, obviously. But Ben Johnson completely shifted a terrible culture, a terrible environment at Hallisall, and completely just flipped it on its head, right? Like you see it now where I feel like I see a lot of people ask the question. I've been asked this a couple of times in a couple of interviews as well, is like, how do the Bears not regress, right? Like, how do you feel confident? Like, obviously the Bears had some fluky wins. They had 7 comeback wins. Like, eventually they're going to go back to the means. And I would agree with that, where I think that you're not going to get a league-leading amount of takeaways next year. That just isn't going to happen. You're not going to lead the league in interceptions, and you're not going to, have the bounce ball your way sometimes. But I'm confident that Ben Johnson is going to have this team ready for the regression that's going to happen next year. He's going to have, like you saw it in his answer quickly. I think it was the first question that he faced where he was like, how much do you transfer from last year? And he quickly said, nothing. Like, we're starting from square one. Like, whatever we did this year doesn't matter. Like, we're going to have to be from square one. We're going to have to build it all the way up. And I think that's the biggest reason why you're encouraged about there won't be too much regression where you're worried about a 5-win team or a 6-win team next year. Like, I think the culture that Ben Johnson has set this year, that's not like a 1-year thing. That feels like a thing that'll last the entire tenure that he's there. And, will it kind of get old later on, as we see sometimes? Like, obviously some marriages, like, you don't see marriages last for too long, right? Like Theo Epstein had a shelf life in Chicago. You had, there's just egos and all that kind of stuff, like that kind of happens. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen to Ben here, but it really feels like the foundation that Ben set over the offseason, that feels like something that's going to be here for a long time.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll have the good, better, best thing again next year.
Sure.
Maybe that was just a 1-year thing and it worked this year.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. I mean, it's all about culture. And the thing that was really encouraging to me during the season was when you had guys go down and how many guys. That's what I keep getting back to, because when you look at good teams, again, your top players, you can't afford to lose them. Your quarterback, your left tackle, if you have a great one, your rush edger, Micah Parsons. But too many times when you see good football teams, guys do go. Every team deals with injuries, but the good teams have depth, guys who are suited for their system, guys they know they can count on, and they identify certain players who can fill certain roles. And a lot of times that's your backups, because in this league, if you're on the roster, opening day roster, you're probably going to get a chance at some point to play, and your contributions are going to mean something. So that's what I was encouraged about. When guys went down, you didn't worry about it. So this offseason, they'll lose guys, but I feel whoever they plug in, whether it's a draft pick, it's a free agent, it's some guy who was already on the team and you really didn't know much about him, they'll fill in. But Ben Johnson brought so much to this team, culture being one, brought an offense to this city. And again, we've talked about it a lot during the season, Michael, that, the way you won this year, maybe it's okay if you don't win the same way next year with the turnovers and the last second heroics.
You probably won't.
It probably won't, right? I said the last podcast, it was such a weird. What team did this remind you of? Any NFL team? Like, remember the Dolphins in 70? They won the same way. There's no comp, I don't think, to the way this team won football games this year. But when he talks about going back to square one, Ben Johnson, that is going back to square one, and we're not building off anything. You are building, because there's certain things you take from this season that you will carry over the next season. Guy, and he mentioned it later about how proud he was of the guys, about the physicality, about guys delivering in the clutch down the stretch, showing poise, not just Caleb, other guys as well. That does matter going forward. And again, I think going into next season, I don't care who they put out there on the opening day of the season. That's going to be a confident football team, because they know, and they'll probably think we're better than last. We improved in the offseason. That you're going to be hearing that. So I am encouraged. It doesn't guarantee anything. Caleb, even if he ascends next year, doesn't guarantee success. But that's why we play the games. That's why we watch.
Yeah, I would agree with your sentiment. Obviously, that's just Ben's mindset. He's on to the next one all the time. He doesn't really like looking back. It's funny. I feel like he spent most of his season not wanting to answer big picture questions, and now it's the off season. He's like, "Well, I'm on to 2026." I just think that that's kind of how he's hard drive. Yes. I don't know. It's kind of crazy to me, but obviously it works for him. But yeah, like you're good. Like the guys know a bunch. You're going to have a bunch of turnover. I think every team goes through like 25% roster turnover. That's just how things go in this league. But the core that is coming back knows what to expect now for training camp. They know what to expect for OTAs. They know what the expectation is. And I thought it was funny when Ben was like, if you thought that was a hard training camp, that's just ordinary to me. Like that's not a thing. So I think a lot of guys will realize, all right, we're going hard. Like that's what the Bears want to do. And I think that's so important, right? So everything else obviously has been great. Like the top 5, top 10 offense that he brought to the Bears, obviously that came to fruition, like we kind of expected. But he just kind of set the culture here and then made it different. And he proved that he can be a head coach. He proved that he's not like this young offensive wonderkind who can call plays but doesn't know how to lead a team. He showed you that he knows how to lead a team. It's the reason why today he was named an AP Coach of the Year finalist. He's a top 5 member. I don't know how you feel, Joe. I don't know if he'll win the award. I think there are a lot of great candidates this year. I mean, Liam Cohen, Kyle Shanahan, the job that he did with everything that happened with the 49ers this year. You talk about good coaching and having depth. I mean, that's how you do it. Mike Vrabel with what he was able to do with the Patriots, and I forget which other guy I'm forgetting about, but I don't know if he'll win it, Joe, but I'm not shocked at all that he's a finalist for what he was able to do this year.
No, again, think back to the beginning of the season, what the expectations were for the Bears. Everybody had them last. Everybody had them last. Maybe someone said, maybe the Vikings will take a step back with McCarthy first year running, the team at the QB position. But everyone had the Bears finishing last. No one had them winning, let alone winning the NFC North, for crying out loud. And then even the playoffs, it was pretty much they're the worst team in the playoffs, so they'll lose right away. So everything, the expectation. So what he did was monumental. And the teams that stunk this year should look at this and say, I'm sure they do. We get the coach right. And we knew this before. Because we've seen it in other organizations, that if you get the coach right, again, I kept going back to the last few seasons. Was the Bears roster bad? Yeah. Was it the worst roster in the NFL? A top 5 worst? I never bought that. I just thought these guys aren't being coached properly. They're not seeing their ceiling by any means. Even not only the top players, but the other guys on the roster. So no, he deserves to be a finalist. Do I think he'll win it? No, my pick would probably be Vrabel, especially for a so-called defensive guy, being, helping make Drake May, probably, a top 3 MVP pick. He's up there in the conversation anyway. So just what New England has done, probably Vrabel, but they're, like you said, there are a lot of good candidates, Liam Cohen, Shanahan. And so we'll see, but that he was acknowledged this way, I think is fair.
And Mike McDonald, obviously, with Seattle. I forgot to mention him. Like there are so many great candidates this year. Yeah, like obviously with what it's just been really a fun year. So yeah, they answer the question, and I think they answer the quarterback question. That was the other thing, right? Like I think, listen, there are things that we can pick on for Caleb, and we will throughout the offseason. And once we get into training camp, the short passes, the progressions, the footwork, all that kind of stuff. I think Caleb showed you that he's your franchise quarterback. The 7 fourth quarter comeback wins. I know he had the interception against DJ, which Ben, by the way, took responsibility on Wednesday. And he said, again, I think that was another good coaching move where he was like, if there's miscommunication in week 21 or week 20 or week 19, that's on me. That's on the head coach. So it was good to see him take that responsibility. But I think Caleb answered your questions with the clutch play, the crazy throws, the basic you can work on. But Joe, I don't know. I know there are probably some people who are like, well, we'll see like how it kind of looks. But I think a majority of the Bears fans Caleb is the franchise quarterback that everyone's been looking for since Sid Luckman at this point.
Yes. I mean, and look, no one's saying the guy's, he's going to be a Hall of Fame player. I think as soon as you compliment Caleb, the reaction is like, oh, he's, the completion percentage and all the things that he doesn't do well, and the timing, and can't throw from the pocket. Hey, it's legit. I mean, the criticism is legit. I have been on it early in the season, even throughout the season. How many times do we say Caleb was good, but gosh darn it, all these other things? So I look at it as this: do you think he can get better? Do you think he can improve the completion percentage? Do you think he'll know the offense better? Is that realistic? Yes, in my opinion. Now, people say, if you say no, he will not get better, this is peak Caleb, I think you're dead wrong. Again, I'm not saying he's going to be Patrick Mahomes next year, but he will be better. He will be better. Those things you can correct. But there's too much consistency. Like all those great throws he made, heck, in the last month of the season, right? There were at least 4 or 5.
There are 4 all-time throws in the last month. Like,
yeah,
it's insane.
It is. And so if you did one of those, you'd say, lucky play, good for him, great highlight. We'll see it for a long time on social media. But then he does it again, and then he does it again. So the idea of what more can he do? What more wild, unplanned plays or planned plays that can happen with this guy? It's really exciting to think about. He gave us 4 or 5 great highlights in a month. What can the rest of his career hold? I think that's crazy because look, and this city is starved for playmakers, all sports combined, right? And we like you said, who's the most exciting athlete in Chicago right now? Well, a couple years ago, you had like nobody. But now you got Caleb, you've got Pete Crow Armstrong, maybe you got Modest Buzelis stirring the excitement
Connor
of Bulls
Bedard.
fans. Pardon?
Connor Bedard. He's like he was the face of the NHL until he got hurt.
Yeah, we're finally seeing exciting players, and Caleb is certainly part of that. Maybe the top guy. So, and it's the quarterback of the Chicago Bears, no less. There is nothing greater if you're a great quarterback in Chicago. What his life is going to be like, and how wonderful this can be, even when it's flurrying and it's the temperatures in the teens. He should love this, and I think he's embracing it. So I think there's room for improvement. And if you look at his season on a whole, it wasn't great, but it was good enough to be excited. And I think most Bears fans feel that way, although some people will continue to hate, which is fine.
Well, that's just a conversation in 2026, Joe. That's just kind of how things go these days. But I would agree, though. I think that's listen. I think everyone has bought. Most people have bought. I think you've seen, Caleb went to the Blackhawks game on Monday and went to the Bulls game on Tuesday with PCA, which is, I'm sure, fun to see. That the young stars in Chicago are kind of hanging out with each other, but the fans are going crazy when they see Caleb because I think they know what they have. There's a reason why they were giving the Bears a standing ovation after that loss to the Rams. I think Bears fans realize what they have here. I think they realize what they have isn't fluky. It's not that blimp 2020 appearance that most people forgot even happened. It's not that 2018 double doink season. This feels like something that's sustainable. And obviously it's going to take a lot of work for it to be sustainable. I mean, it doesn't happen often here in Chicago. The last time the Bears have had back-to-back winning seasons was in 2005 and 2006, which is obviously a big problem for this franchise. But I think Caleb has just kind of shown you that, we entered the season, and I remember that that story came out. I think it was the day before the season or something about Caleb's so bad to work with. He's not dedicated, all this former coaches stuff. And I think Caleb just proved that wrong to everyone. You saw Caleb take incremental steps throughout the season. His reads got better. He did start to do the checkout. He started to understand the offense better. And I think that's what you were looking for, right? Beating the single season, passing record, that's all great and all. But I think that you just saw him take major steps. And I think the biggest thing why everyone is so excited about Caleb is I don't think anyone doubts that he's going to be motivated this offseason to get better. I think he kind of mirrors his head coach where he's not really happy with the status quo. He wants to do better. He wants to be the greatest. And I think you see that. Ben said, Caleb needs to get away from football right now. He's dedicated himself throughout the week throughout the year. It's good for Caleb to get away from things a little bit just to kind of decompress and kind of get back at it. But I don't think there's a doubt in anyone's mind that Caleb is going to be working hard throughout the offseason to take that next step next year where maybe he is in those MVP conversations.
Yes. Yeah, and I think he mentioned even after the game against the Rams about he was already talking about what he needs to get better at and what he wants to work on right away. So to me, because not everyone says that, a lot of people, I think, athletes, well, hey, I was really good this year. I'm going to take a break. What do I need to get better at? I'm good. No, he's already he knows, and he wants to start the process tomorrow. I do agree. Everyone, you need time off. You need time off to get away, not think about what you do for a living to earn money in your household. Get away. You need that. So he needs to recharge, take a break from it, and then come back. I don't care if it's a month from now. I don't know how much time he's going to take off. But you've got an off season to study, to work on your mechanical things, to know the playbook better, whatever the case may be, get better with your receivers. Thought it was interesting too, Michael, like Ben saying we got to do a better job of catching the football. I'm glad they acknowledged that. I'd be curious about what the process is for that, not only just for the Bears, but anybody. How do you get better at catching a football? Does it mean taking 100 throws off a jugs gun during the offseason with guys throwing things at you? I don't know the process. Maybe he could dive into that at some point another time with the media. But I'd be curious, like, how do you get better at catching a football? Because there were too many drops. And again, the weather, I do think, factored into that. At the end, we saw more drops by even by your sure-handed guys like Loveland and Burden. But yeah, I like Ben said, he goes, I think, what do you say? He goes, this is going to be a special player in this league, talking about Caleb. I agree 100%.
Yeah, and I think, Caleb even said, like, he's going to get together with his wide receivers and they're going to work out together during the offseason, work on running routes so they can get comfortable with each other. And I think that's a big step. Like, obviously, Caleb's done that before. Like, every quarterback does that, right? Like, that's just kind of what guys do now. They kind of get together in Florida or whatever, or California. I don't know where Caleb is, home base is for him. But I do know that they'll probably all get together, all work out. I agree. I thought that was noteworthy that Ben pointed that out too, where it did seem like there was a lot of drops, especially like I feel like midway until the end of the season. Like I feel like it was highlighted over the last month, obviously bad weather, but I feel like this was a problem even in the fall, like in November and October, there were just too many drops. And I think different guys need to work on it. Rome, when we met with him after on locker cleanout day on Monday, like he was honestly seemed the most sad because I think he realized, he said, like, he didn't have the season that he wanted. He didn't take the step that he wanted. And injuries played a role in that, obviously. But I think he realizes personally, like he said, he met with Antoine Randall and he said, I just didn't catch enough catchable balls. And I think everyone realizes that, but I think it's the most important that Rome realizes that. And I don't doubt that he's going to work hard over the offseason to fix that, because I still think Rome is a fantastic talent to have on your team. I know there are some thoughts already, some people are already making trades, being like, all right, trade Rome and a first round pick for Max Crosby. I don't know if you give up on Rome this quickly. There's a reason why he was a top 10 pick. I still think he has a bunch of talent. And I think, listen, this was the first year that everyone was in this offense. That's not just Caleb, it's everyone else. Everyone is going to get much more comfortable in this offense and know what they're supposed to do with the whole offseason to get through it and get comfortable with it throughout the second year. So I do think that that'll be a big factor moving forward too, where I think this offense is only going to get better. And I think that's the reason why Ben Johnson said yesterday that they're only scratching the surface about what they could potentially do offensively.
I agree. And I'm glad Rome acknowledges, like, yeah, there are balls I need to catch. So again, I don't know the process there. I don't know what he'll do to get better, but whatever it is, I think he just said it. He's going to work on it. I expect him to be better next season. I don't think that's being unrealistic. And remember, he really had a good start to the season. Remember, he was, and then he did have a couple of drops, but then he got hurt later. But he was on pace to have a pretty good season, and then he missed the last 5 games of the regular season, so that was too bad for him. But just hearing guys like not content at all, now, whether that's, and I think that's part of their DNA. I don't know how much of that is coached into them. I just think, like with anybody, it's like either you care and you want to get better, or you don't. You're just content, and I don't care what other people think. I hate hearing that from people in general. So that he acknowledges it, to me, tells me he will get better at it.
All right, Joe, I'm putting together a top 10 list for the top 10 moments of the season. And I found that it is quite easy to put this story together when the Bears have a season that they've had this year. I feel like they've had a lot of number one, like I went through the list and it should come out on Friday. And a lot of, I think the top 7, top 6 are probably number ones in any other season. But for, with obviously with what the Bears were able to accomplish this season, obviously that it's actually a tough task trying to figure out what moment is good. But kind of I feel like this would be a good way to kind of reflect all the craziness. What would you say are your top 3 moments from this past season? And if you need some time, I can give you some time. I've got mine. So if you need some time, I'll let you go. But what are your top 3, I guess, moments from what was a insane year?
Yeah, a great question, and something you could talk about like for an hour at least with a cold drink in your hand with your buddies, right? I still think, even though it came in a loss, that throw to Cole Kmet when he was sprinting toward the other end zone was just, I don't see how you'll forget that play at all. To me, that's still the play. So that's one. I still think of the pass to Loveland, the Bengals game, just how exciting and unforeseen that was. That's the one I think of. And then just the other crazy heroic throws. The throw. So that would be two. And then the other one has to be the OT catch to DJ Moore to beat Green Bay. Even the Jade Walker one on the last play of regulation, basically, to send
You don't
that
have
game
the
to
4th
OT.
and 8 throw?
Oh, that one too. Gosh.
See, that's what I'm saying, right? Like,
it's hard.
It's hard to do.
It is. Okay, for sure. That's got to be in there. So I would say that one, the Kmet throw where everyone's jaw dropped, and I'm gonna go. I know people will say, "Oh, it's got to be the DJ one because it was the Packers OT," but I'm gonna go with the Loveland one against the Bengals. I can't see that enough. I just loved it, and it was still at a point where you're still wondering where can they make the playoffs? Can they get to 10 wins? Are they going to be done here in a couple of weeks as the schedule gets tough? I just thought that was such a staple play. One, again, I think we'll see for a long time. But that'll be my three. And again, I could, if you ask me an hour from now, I might switch it up again. But those three, I would say.
I would agree. I won't give away my top three just because I want you guys to read the story. But I would agree. Like, I think listen, that Loveland play, that's like a fork in the road for you. Like, you're in the middle of the season. You can either lose that game going against Joe Flacco and you could not keep up in the shootout, or you make that play, and that obviously sets off the trajectory for what the Bears did this season. And I would agree. I feel like the Loveland play, that's a play of the decade for a lot of teams, or like at least a play of the year, if not the play of the decade. But it's an insane play just to kind of the throw and then the run that Loveland has. But this year, I would agree. It's kind of like, whoa, like what? It's kind of hard. Like, it's barely kind of making the top three here. And there are so many other moments. I mean, the Josh Blackwell blocked field goal that kind of started things off like that's an insane throw. You got Jake Moody, coming in as a practice squad guy in rainy conditions to beat the Commanders after that fumble that Nahshon Wright was able to force. I mean, it's just all these different moments. It's just kind of hard to imagine that all these different types of moments happen in the same season. So it was just a crazy year. I would agree. Obviously check out that top 10 list, but it's just, you could debate about this for years about should the Kmet catch against the Rams be number one because it led to a loss, but if it's an insane throw, or is it the Rams, or is it the Packers 4th and 8th throw? Because if you don't make that throw, the game is over and you don't have the Rams throw. It's a great conversation. I'm sure Bears fans will be having it throughout the year, but it kind of just makes you realize, man, it was an unforgettable season. Like, I think it might be, this is probably the most memorable non-championship season in Bears history. And obviously, I know that the team has 108, 160-year history. I know that's maybe a little bit prisoner of the moment, but for a non-championship season, this really does feel like the most non-memorable one, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. I think you're right. I think I'd have to think about 105 seasons. I've seen a lot of those. I haven't seen half of them, but I've seen a lot of those seasons. But for a non-championship season, you're right. Even the year they went to the Super Bowl, lost to the Colts, Super Bowl 41. I don't remember as many crazy. You remember the Devin Hester, the punt return, and the Dennis Green quote afterward. That was the 2006 season. But even I don't know if that season compares to this season as far as moments,
which is crazy, right?
Wow moments. You can't believe it. I got to see that highlight 50 more times before I go to bed tonight. I don't know. I don't recall one, Michael.
No, I would agree, and it's crazy. I was also having this. I also heard this conversation going on, but is the Cole Kmet like is that the greatest play in a loss? Because I've heard a lot of people make the comparison of Devin Hester, opening the Super Bowl with the kick
Yeah.
return. That obviously is a great one, but the argument that I've heard and I kind of agree with is that was cool, but that wasn't a total surprise, right? Like the Colts were arguing about whether to kick off to him because of what he was doing all season, right? Like Tony Dungy, the story is that the team chaplain or a priest told him, like, don't be like whatever his sermon was or his homily, like, don't be afraid or whatever. And then Tony Dungy went for it, and then Devin Hester returned it for a touchdown. I still feel like that was kind of expected. Like the Cole Kmet throw is insane. Like to backpedal 10, 20 yards, turn your back for like a second, and then just heave it up into the end zone because you see Cole Kmet is there. I still think that that's the greatest play in the loss ever in Bears history, at least.
It might be the Hester one, yeah, because of the moment with all the cameras going off there, opening kickoff of the Super Bowl. That's another one I could watch like 10 times today. Would never be bored watching that. And I've seen it more than 100 times, like every Bears fan who remembers it.
Right.
But this throw, every year we see, we'll talk about the catch of the year. You see it on TV and catches of the year, but throws of the year. This one was, I don't know, Michael, again, to just off your back foot from your own 40, and the accuracy to not underthrow it, to not throw it out of the end zone, to throw it right over.
I feel like that's an understated part of that. I feel like that's an understated part of the throw, right? He's scrambling and he throws it perfectly. It lands in the perfect spot with the defender on him. Cole Kmet kind of pushes off and kind of gets whatever, but it's placed perfectly where only Cole Kmet can get it. That is an understated part of that throw, I feel like.
It was almost an easy catch for Kmet. I mean, he just like, that's how perfectly thrown to the spot that ball was. It's just, I don't know. We don't see every game every week. But if you miss something, you see it on TV, it would go viral or something. But that throw, and I'm thinking, are we just being biased? I don't think we are.
No, I don't think we are. I think I saw a clip of Tom Brady talking about, I forget whether it's that throw or the throw to Roma Dunze against the Packers. But yeah, I would agree. It's an insane throw. Rick chiming in saying most fun I've had with the Bears since the 2006 season. 4th and 8 versus Green Bay playoffs only because we lost the Rams game. Had we won, by far the better throw. I would agree with that. One last throw to talk about that kind of I was debating whether to include, but let's not forget that throw to DJ Moore in the back of the end zone against the Browns. I know obviously that was a blowout loss, so you kind of like the importance of that game was also whatever, but that's an insane throw. Like that went through 3 receivers in the back of the end zone and landed perfectly to DJ. Like I feel like that was the moment. Again, that was a throw where you're like, well, that's a throw of the year, obviously. Like, there's no way you can top that. But let's not forget about that throw. That throw was insane.
Yeah, that's another one where you thought he's just going to throw this onto the end zone. Fine, live to play another day. But no, that throw for sure is a top 10. And the one to Zacchaeus, the short one where he sidearm slinged it. It was only like a 2 or 3 yard touchdown pass. Forgot who that was against. But the throw I'm talking about. Yes. And it was a great catch by Zacchaeus. I mean, there was like, I mentioned this, I think, once on a podcast earlier, the great Don Pearson, who used to write for the Tribune, the great Don Pearson, football writer. And he once wrote that throw would have made the hole for that throw was, and I'm already butchering the writing by Don Pearson. It would have made a wren nervous. Such a beautiful description, spot on, great writing. But that's how tight that window was to Zacchaeus on that throw. And then he's got a tilt. He's almost like he's laying down to put his head on his pillow and throws it to Zacchaeus. That was just fabulous throw, maybe an even better catch by Zacchaeus. So that one sticks out too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, countless memories, and we're going to do kind of a positional kind of look back and all that kind of stuff here in the coming weeks. But yeah, a lot of memorable moments, and obviously a season that many of us won't forget. But a lot of the other stuff that Ben and Ryan talked about was kind of looking to the future. But like we said, Ben was quickly moving on toward the future. And it'll be interesting. Like the biggest thing that I think was interesting that both Ryan and Ben said is a lot of tough decisions are going to have to be made, and there are going to be a lot of tough decisions to be made. One of the bigger ones is going to be, what do the Bears do at safety? All four of their top four safeties are out of contract. Kevin Byard, Jaquan Brisker, Jonathan Owens, and Elijah Hicks are out of contract. Both Kevin said he'd like to come back to the Bears, but he's obviously got to take care of his family, but he would want to come back to the Bears. I think it was noteworthy. Ryan was asked about Jaquan Brisker and Kevin Byard, that safety room. And I thought it was noteworthy that Ryan made sure to point out that he would like to have Kevin back. So I do wonder whether those two are able to kind of work out. Kevin obviously is going to want to get his. He wants to, support his security. I think all of us would want to do that in this situation. But I wonder if it's a situation where, does Kevin take a little bit less in order to stay with the Bears and in order to win, right? Like at this point, he said that he wants to be financially stable, but he also wants to win. I mean, he's 32 at this point. He hasn't won a Super Bowl in his career. And I think that's important to guys. And I think he also wants to finish off kind of what they were able to build this year. So, at this point in the middle of January, obviously things can shift a lot quickly, but I think Jaquan Brisker played a hell of a game. I don't know how much money he's going to want, and I just don't know how much money the Bears are going to be able to give him. So I do wonder if it ends up being a situation where the Bears bring back Kevin Byard on a team. I don't want to call it a team-friendly deal, but something comparable to that. And maybe they just use one of their top draft picks to draft a safety.
Yeah, it's a tough spot for both guys. First, I'm Byard. Look, 7 interceptions, led the league. I liked him last year, even when he didn't have a great season. I just like to hear him speak football. I think he's a very bright guy, and if he wants
he's
to
a great guy,
that's the word, right? Super guy. But look, he'll be 33 in August, and I think I heard him say like he wants to do. I don't begrudge anyone for making as much money as you can, but guy's been in the league a long time. He's made a good amount of money in this league. I don't think he has to worry about where he's living next year and can he afford rent. I think he's in a good spot. He should be. If not, he should be talking to somebody. So at some point, like with any job, you have to decide like, where do I want to go to work today? Money aside, all the money in the world. Okay, you can give him all the money in the world. Yeah, but you work in Siberia. I mean, do you want to do that? So where do you want to be? You have the culture here. If he's happy here in Chicago with this organization, maybe he does think like, this team offered me more, but I don't know if the Bears, again, can he duplicate next season? I don't know, but he can still be an effective player and a leader, especially because you're probably going to have, like typically you do a season, you have a lot of young guys in the secondary, but I like how many years does he want? That'll be interesting. And how much is it guaranteed? But they're going to need a safety. Jaquan, I'll say this. I said it all during the offseason, early in the season. I have zero confidence in this guy being able to play 17 games in light of the concussions he had. Well, he played 17 games. He played 17 games plus the 2
he played every game. Yeah.
Unbelievable. And he didn't bang his head that we know of. So that's, to me, again, not to go all dad here, but that's the biggest thing is that he takes care of himself and that he survived this season. Did he have a great season? No. You look at it, what he's done in 4 years here, 1 interception each season. Last year he barely played because of the concussions, but he hasn't been a great player. How much do you want to invest in him knowing the concussion history with him? So that's a tough one. They're going to need a safety. Are you going to put the onus on some guy you signed? You're still going to have to, if you don't draft one and make him plug him in as a day one starter, you're going to find another free agency. So you go to the free agency to find a safety. So you got to have one. maybe they do bring him back, and then maybe you draft one, and maybe not in the first round, but you grab one to either be the heir apparent to whether it be Byard or Brisker. But so I don't know what to do with Jaquan. That's a real tough one. I think you'll attest to. You've taught a very likable young man.
Oh yeah, he's great.
He never comes across as a jerk or selfish, or just a guy who doesn't get it. And the league is littered with guys like that. So he's not. He just seems like a good young man who's a good football player. Is there more to his game? I don't know at this point. After 4 years, you've pretty much seen what you get. But would it be the worst thing to bring both those guys back, in my opinion? Certainly not.
No, I don't think. I think that the Bears would be interested in that. Obviously, Brisker was, Ryan Poles' second ever pick in 2022. I think it just comes down to the money, right? You can't, Ryan talked about they need to be smart about the moves that they make and the positions that they put themselves in. And I don't know if you can listen, are you going to break the bank for Jaquan Brisker? I think that's the biggest problem, right? Like, I think I'm not trying to diminish his talent or try to say that he's bad. He played great on Sunday, and he's shown really good abilities to play well in coverage and to blitz and that sort of stuff. And I think it just comes down to the money. And again, this goes back to what Ryan and Ben were talked about. I think they both like Jaquan a lot, but I understand where Jaquan would come from. And he's like, listen, I got to make my money. I got to take care of myself. I got to take care of my family. I got to create generational wealth. I don't begrudge any guy for trying to make as much money as possible. So I think that might be a tough situation. With the Kevin Byard thing, I don't think he'll have 7 interceptions, but I think if you create any sort of pass rush, I think he can still play at a high level. I think a lot of what was exploited about Kevin Byard this year was because the Bears just didn't have a pass rush this year. And I think I think he had to make up for a lot of deficiencies in the front line. And I think he still did a really good job, right? Like, I think he showed you that he puts in the time and the effort in order to do that. So that'll be really interesting to watch how that safety room develops. I think the other interesting thing to watch, Joe, is I think there's going to have to be a cap casualty here, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
The Bears have roughly they're 21st in the amount of cap space that they have. And I think there's going to be some sort of cap casualty here. Obviously, I know the biggest name that's been thrown around is DJ Moore, obviously with the interception that happened. Listen, guys, I know that it wasn't a good look that he didn't come to the locker room after Sunday's game, and that he wasn't available when we were at the locker room on Monday. I'm still of the mindset that I don't think one play eliminates a whole work of what he's been able to do. He had 2 touchdown catches in the playoffs. He came through for the team when Rome Odunze was injured and when Luther Burden was injured late in the game. He played. I can tell you personally, he played through countless injuries. He played through everything, and you kind of saw that in Ben's conversation yesterday, and Ryan's conversation, where DJ motivated the other wide receivers to play through stuff because of how hard he worked. Like, he was obviously playing through stuff, and he was going through a lot of stuff. So, listen, it'll be interesting to see because, first of all, I don't know. It'll be hard. Like, can you go up to a guy and ask him to restructure a contract that officially hasn't started? Technically, his new deal starts in 2026. So it's kind of hard to go up to him and be like, hey, this new deal hasn't started yet, but can you please restructure this? But no. I don't know. Maybe DJ would do it because he's like, I want to stay here. I want to win. Like, this was the first time he dealt with winning football since high school. So I don't know how you feel, Joe. Obviously, we'll have a whole offseason to talk about whether you trade DJ Moore and all that kind of stuff. But it's going to be a tough decision because obviously you have Rome Odunze under control. You have Luther Burden under control. You have Colston Loveland under control. It feels like one of those tough situations where maybe you go away from DJ. But I'm also kind of like, who's going to take that contract?
Right. This is a slippery slope here with DJ. And Ben Johnson was said the right things yesterday about him. He didn't care about the stats. He's all about winning, as you're mentioning here. Played through a lot of injuries. We'll dissect that last interception for a long time. But you see on social media a lot of people criticizing his lack of effort, quitting on routes. I don't know about that. You can watch film. I'm not, I don't watch film and break it down and do a podcast. I'm not that guy. I don't know what the conversations internally are at Hallis about him. I don't know if you would know either. But I've said all year, like I love DJ Moore. I think for pound, you get the most out of him. I think he's a really good football player. Is he an all-pro player? No, but he's right there. I don't know if they're going to bring him back, Michael, for the cap hit he's got. Can you trade him? If you're trading him, it's probably just going to be more a dump with salary.
You're not getting probably a lot. Like I've seen people say trade DJ Moore in a first round pick to the Raiders for Max Crosby. The Raiders aren't doing that. The Raiders aren't taking on that money and giving away the third best, second best pass rusher in the league. Like they're not doing that deal.
Right. No, I don't know. To me, it comes down to, is there a disconnect with the quarterback and DJ Moore? I don't have I'm not implying there is, but that's to me what it really comes down to. If it's just he was injured, the talk about him quitting on routes, people don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're looking at. If that's what they believe, okay. But I think we'll find out. I'm really curious of all the guys who will leave for whatever reason this offseason. The guy I'm most curious about is DJ Moore, because if he's released or he's traded or whatever, then that shifts your focus to in free agency or maybe the draft. Like, oh my gosh, are we going to draft another wide receiver high for the third year in a row? I don't know, but they got to figure that out with him, because I don't know the truth. I don't know if you do and you can't say. I don't know, but I'm really curious to see what happens with DJ Moore.
I think it's noteworthy that I feel like Ben, as we know, is honest. Like he'll tell you what he thinks. And I think he could have very easily, I think it's noteworthy that he made sure to say that he was to blame for that interception. He didn't throw DJ under the bus. He didn't throw Caleb under the bus. Maybe that's just being a good coach and taking one for your players. I don't know. But I also know that quite honestly, Ben is honest. Like when earlier in the year, when Luther Burden wasn't where he was supposed to be on routes, he said Luther wasn't what he was supposed to do. Like he'll tell you honestly what's supposed to happen. So I think it's noteworthy that both Ben and Ryan spoke pretty well about DJ, but listen, that might just be part of it, and that's just part of business. So it'll be interesting to watch him. I think obviously other guys to keep an eye out on. Cole Kmet obviously has a really high salary cap for being now the number 2 tight end on the team. I will give Cole a lot of credit. I think he, after a rough start, I forget what was it the Commanders game or the Raiders game where he played really poorly, and then he just turned it around. He did a great job blocking. He bought into his role. I feel like any other veteran would have been like, well, screw this. Like my spot is being taken by this rookie, and now I'm just supposed to be a backup. He played it well. I think he did a great job. So I think Cole Kmet could be one. Tremaine Edmonds could potentially be another guy that might be a salary dump, which is unfortunate because I think before the injury, Tremaine was having a fantastic season.
Yeah,
he did such a great job at that will spot, and it felt like he was really put in a spot to succeed. But those are some other guys, Joe, that I feel like might be guys where maybe you go up to them and say, "Hey, we would really like for you to stay here. Would you be willing to do some deferrals or signing bonus or whatever to kind of ease up our cap hit?" Because I think if they don't, those are some other top candidates that you might be like, well, we love this guy, but we got to create space elsewhere.
Yeah, it'll be interesting too to see what happens with Tremaine. He was very good at times. You mentioned the interceptions. Then he was very, I don't want to say bad, just wasn't noticeable. When they were getting gutted up the middle, Tremaine's part of that, Again, I'm not an X's and O guy. I just see what I'm seeing. So I don't know, but it's a lot of money. I got a question for you. Looking back after they signed, they traded Roquan and the offseason, they signed 2 linebackers, Tremaine and TJ Edwards. Looking back, do you think that was a good trade to trade Roquan, knowing you'd be getting, basically 2 linebackers in the offseason via free agency?
I think at the time it was a good trade because I don't think Roquan fit your timeline, right? I don't think he like fit. Obviously, now you would love to have Roquan Smith, obviously, but I think at the time it was just those guys kind of needed to come in. I think TJ Edwards has been really good, when he's been able to
Yeah.
play. I agree with that. I forget they got a second round pick in that trade, right? And I think they used it on Jervon Dexter, which
Oh,
do you blame? Again, that's a reason why we were kind of mad about it earlier, right? Like I would say at this point, Jervon Dexter isn't a good pick at the second round, right? Like I don't think he's not terrible by any
right.
means. I just don't think for a second round pick that he's shown you. I think it's more on. I think the process was right. I think trading Roquan Smith didn't fit your timeline. I don't think he was perfect for where this team was going, and I think the move was good. I think at that point, it just comes down to you got to hit on that second round pick, and the Bears, I don't think they've hit on that second round pick.
Yeah, my philosophy with any trade, any sport is the team that gets the best player wins. So I thought Baltimore won because they got Roquan. It was
Sure.
he didn't get the accolades he did here in Chicago because the team stunk. And then he goes to a real good Baltimore team and he got the accolades and he deserved them, you know.
Yeah.
But I like Roquan. I still like Roquan. I think that if you look back, it's like 3 years now. How much money did you want to pay a guy who didn't make enough impact plays? Like he wasn't like getting 5-10 sacks a season, 5 picks. So even though he was a fantastic tackler, I love watching Roquan Smith tackle people because he just has this. You can tell it's Roquan. He kind of gets horizontal and it's all 100% of everything on his body going into that ball carrier. But anyway, a tough one. I still would rather have Roquan back then too. Like you said, he didn't fit. Like he was ready. He was ready to be a championship caliber football player.
He fit perfectly for where the Ravens were at that time, I think. Like,
yes,
it made sense that he went to the Ravens. Like, that made sense. I just didn't think at the time
you wouldn't want to
sense.
trade him to another bad team.
Right.
That's where he needed to be. And I'm sure they fell in love with Roquan in Baltimore pretty quickly and probably still love the guy. As I think a lot of Bears fans still do.
Yeah. Joe, obviously, I don't think I'm breaking any news here that the biggest thing you deal with free agency trades, probably your first 4 picks in the draft, it has to be the defensive line. I don't obviously you're going to have to supplement your safeties based on what you're doing there. You're always obviously trying to build up your offensive line because that's the way you succeed in this league. If you build through the trenches and, Joe Thuney's getting older, obviously, I think you've got good sets of other younger players who will be around, but you do need to develop and have depth at the offensive line. I don't think you're going to get every guy mostly playing every single snap like you did this year. So you're going to have to build that depth through the offense, through the draft. But obviously, your focus is the defensive line, and I'm really interested to see what they're able to do because listen, they invested money into that defensive line. They got Grady Jarrett. They signed Dio Dengbo. I think Shamar Turner will have a lot of talent. I think he just dealt with a bunch of injuries, and that's been really unfortunate. I think he's someone who could rush from the outside and can play really, really well moving forward. But I'm really interested to see what they do with this defensive line because I don't think it'll be as easy to fix it as people think. You can't just throw money at it because you already threw a lot of money at it. You might have to do it through trades, or you might have to trade up in the draft. I don't know how you feel how they're going to be able to solve this defensive line problem because I don't think it's just the edge. I think it's the middle of the middle of the line too that needs a revamp. I think Grady Jarrett did a good job of that at times. Jervon Dexter hasn't done enough for you, and I think Dio Dengbo didn't do enough for you when he played.
Yeah, there's no way they're going into next season with a defensive front that they had this year. There's no way. Bears fans will be screaming. So they have to address it. Now, because they're now in win mode, right? This is not still part of the rebuild. Next year, it's really go time. We talked about all year about this kind of being the bonus year, doing better than, ahead of the timeline. So they've got to win now. So maybe you trade that first round pick. And look, it's not a top 10 pick anymore like it has been for years.
It's number 25. It's the latest pick they're going to have since, I think, 2011.
Crazy. So maybe you trade that pick. But to me, at 25, then it's almost best available, except like you're not going to take a quarterback or a wide receiver again. It's got to be any position on the defense, but particularly front seven. Let's put it that way. I don't think you have to take a safety at 25 if you're still at 25, but you got to get a safety here. Ideally, for me, second, third round. But they got to address up front. And then the O-line too. Joe Thuney, I don't know how he did it again. He keeps going. Didn't show his age at all this year, but they've got to get help. And maybe they make a trade, work the money somehow, cutting other people. But you got to get better. You got to get better at the linebacker spot. You got to get better at the interior spots. Certainly encouraged by what Austin Booker did. I'm not saying pencil him opposite Montez next year and you're set. I'm not saying that at all.
No.
They've got to get more up front. And Turner is going to be like basically having another draft pick in this class because you basically got nothing out of him. So if there's something there with him, that'd be nice. Odengbo, I think he is what he is. So you're stuck with it. I don't know what you can do there.
He's good in the run defense, I think. I think that's something.
Yeah. So maybe just having a bit now, if you take out salary aside, I should say, are you better with Odengbo the last half of the season than without him? I think you're better with him. It's just the money,
it's the money.
Yeah. It just, makes you look at it differently. But if everyone was making the same, you say, well, does Odengbo make you a better football team? Yeah. So, he's coming off what? It's an Achilles, right?
Yeah. I think his was an Achilles and Shamar Turner's was a torn ACL.
The Achilles is a tough one, man. That's that one you're like, he'll be back in 2 months. He's fine. That's a tough one. So we'll see if it affects him. Like, is he still the same player? There's a long way to go before we really see that, but they have to address the defense. And then, I don't know, offensively, depending on what you do with DJ Moore, you're going to need another receiver. You're going to need depth at the O-line. We're not even sure really, and that Ozzie, that complicates things because he doesn't sound like he's going to be ready at the start of the season.
No, Ryan pulled the update. Like both him and Noah Sewell had surgeries, but he doesn't expect Ozzie to be ready until the late next year. So they're going to be shopping for, I would guess, I don't think you draft a tackle. I think you probably sign a veteran tackle who can serve the role. But listen, I don't know what you're going to get out of that's that knee injury is a very hard injury to come back from, and it probably with it happening so late in the playoffs, you probably are not getting him. I'm no doctor, obviously, but I think you're probably getting him until December at that point. Which stinks for him because you wouldn't really wanted a whole offseason of development from him, but that's going to be a really tough situation. And I would agree, you probably are investing now. You have to look for a left tackle because I think it was telling that they didn't put Theo Benedict in left tackle in that playoff game. I think they probably bring him back as a backup swing tackle. I don't think they bring back Braxton Jones, but I think not putting Theo Benedict out there in that game against the Rams and moving Joe Thuney over and having Jordan McFadden play at left guard, I think that told you that they are not confident in him filling that role for most of the season next year.
Well, Braxton's interesting because if you're looking at so who are going to be the available left tackles on the market in the offseason? Well, he's one of them, and he's a guy who started. He was not great. He's serviceable. Not necessarily a bad thing. A lot of guys have been serviceable and played 10 years in this league. Can you get away with him? Again, I don't think you need – again, I heard this once from an offensive lineman, an NFL lineman. He's like, you don't need 5 great offensive linemen. You need 4. You can cover for the other guy. Now, it still happens to be left tackle, the most important position on the O-line we're talking. But I don't know. Would Braxton Jones – I mean, again, I kind of feel the same way I did going into the season. Is Braxton Jones at left tackle the worst thing for this football team? No. You'd like it to be better. But – he wasn't like, oh my gosh, he wasn't cringeworthy.
Do I have to go? I feel like I remember you in week 4 being pretty harsh on Braxton Jones after he got benched.
I don't recall. I thought
maybe I'm making that up.
Pardon?
Maybe I'm making that up. I feel like I remember someone being pretty critical of the left tackle spot after that week 4 game against the Raiders.
I don't know, because I don't think he's been awful. Again, is that a compliment? Kind of a backhanded compliment.
Yeah,
I don't think he's been awful. I think he's been fine, especially with how good the other guys are with Tooney, Dolman, Wright, and Jackson. Um, so, but if you're going to need, and then what do you do? Did you give Theo Bennett the job, or who else is out there that is going to sign a team friendly deal? Because it's a tough one. That's another tough decision. I just don't think it's priority one. Because even Ozzie,
sure.
when he was playing and healthy, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, we got a future. We got the next Jimbo Covert here. We didn't think that. So we don't even know really if he's the answer anyway, if healthy. And what they do this year, was left tackle a problem? I mean, you'd like to have a Pro Bowler there, but not, only a handful of teams have that guy. So I just didn't think it was a glaring area of weakness for the Bears this year. And I think, again, with this coaching staff, they'll figure it out, whether it's Theo, it's Braxton, it's some guy we've never even heard his name yet. They'll figure it out. That's that spot.
Yeah, I would agree. It just kind of sinks that they have to worry about this, because the easy plan was Ozzie develop. You showed us something at left tackle in, I mean, quite honestly, tough circumstances. He was literally in a competition. Then they're like, all right, we're going to throw it to the right side. Then you're the backup right tackle. Then things go really bad, and they're like, all right, go to the left tackle. Like, that's hard for any rookie to do. So I do think that he would have shown you real growth if he actually had an offseason. So that'll be tough and something we have to monitor. Other injury news, Jalen Johnson suffered a minor wrist injury Sunday. Brian Poles didn't seem concerned about that. That's another guy where you're kind of like, I think people are forgetting how bad the injury was and are kind of like, well, Jalen Johnson, is he that good? I think if he has a full offseason to recover, I think he'll remind a lot of fans why he was a top paid cornerback. I don't know if that's a salary dump, because he has paid a lot. So I don't know if that's someone that you may be potentially move on from. I don't know. Something to monitor. But TJ Edwards, Dio Dangbo, Terrell Smith, Kieran Amagaji, and Shamar Turner should all return at some point in the offseason, whether that's during OTA's mini camp or the start of training camp. So that's encouraging news, because those are good guys to obviously have, and a lot of injuries that they dealt with. One last thing I want to talk about, Joe, before we move on here. We're already over an hour here, so won't touch too much. But it seems like there's going to be a coaching purge here, and Eric Bieniemy is already leaving for the Kansas City Chiefs to go back there, and he'll be their offensive coordinator. It seems like a foregone conclusion that Al Harris will probably take a defensive coordinator spot. He interviewed with the Packers, and he's interviewing with the Commanders today. And something else noteworthy, Declan Doyle is interviewing for the Eagles offensive coordinator spot. Now, that one feels to me like the least likely to happen. I wonder if some teams might be like, all right, like, give Declan a year or two more. Like, he might be a little bit too green and that kind of stuff. And I don't know if the Eagles want to. I'm not trying to besmirch Declan and say that he wouldn't do a good job. I think he's very talented, and I think he's really smart. But I don't know if Nick Sirianni, he feels like he's kind of like in a win or get fired kind of year. So I don't know if he wants to bet that on a first-time play caller. Right. But listen, it seems like the Bears are going to have to make some coaching updates here. And Ben was pretty upfront about it. He said he was open to it. I saw Rick asked a question at the beginning. Can we block any of these coaching offers? Al Harris to Green Bay is more what I'm speaking of. I don't think that's not Ben's MO. It doesn't seem like he yesterday made it very clear that he'll do whatever it takes to get his guys hired. He wants them to ascend. He would love for them to stay and obviously help see this thing through. But Ben doesn't seem like he's going to block anyone.
Yeah, I don't think if it's an ascending move, you can block someone. Like if he was going from defensive backs coach with the Bears to defensive backs coach with the Packers, I don't know this for certain, but I think the Bears could block that. But if it's for the DC at Green Bay, I don't think you can stop him from doing that. But if you have a good season, this is what happens for any NFL team. I think it's a good thing. I mean, I'm sure Ben, if he had a private moment, he would say, like, no, I'm serious. I'm happy for Al Harris. I'm happy for Eric Bieniemy. That's what you want, right? Like, You want Sean Hammond going from Shaw Local to the Tribune, taking a step up in his career. Like, good for Sean. You know, like that's what you want. And so good for these guys. Now, will the Bears miss him? Heck yeah. They were really good.
He did a really good job with that secondary.
Yeah, right. I'm sure Monunga in the past talked about what Bieniemy meant for him. Tough, hard ass guy. But look what the Bears run game did this year. When we thought like, oh boy, why didn't they draft a running back high, that kind of thing. So, but knowing that Ben made the choices he did when he got the job here a year ago to bring these guys in gives me the confidence in him that he will find other guys that fit what he wants in an assistant coach, whether it's a coordinator or it's DB, special teams, whatever. So to me, remember that the problems Eberflus had with like, oh my gosh, this guy, and then what happened? I feel confident that Ben will find the guys to replace Bieniemy, Al Harris, but those guys will be missed.
I think both guys are. I think Al Harris is a star. He's been a great guy to talk to. He's did a great job with that secondary. I don't think the Bears were going to lead the league in interceptions, regardless if Al Harris is there or not next year. But he did a fantastic job. I've seen a lot of Bears fans get mad. Is it a betrayal if he goes to the Packers? Listen, he played for the Packers. Guys got to do what guys got to do, right? Like, it's whatever's best for. We've all done what is best for us in our own careers, and I would not begrudge him at all for going to the Packers and getting in. And honestly, it would make things a little bit even more spicy. I think it'd be fun if he went there. I think it'd be a lot of fun. But I think
he might be the only Packer that Bears fans like.
Yeah,
because he's such a good dude. Like, you can't root against Al Harris.
No, he's a great guy
when you're coaching against the Bears.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think the other thing is, like, I think aspiring coaches want to come to the staff, right? Like, would you not want to come to that? Like, don't you want to coach these guys? Like, I would agree. I think Ben Johnson showed that he can put together a 5-star class, a coaching staff to start things off. And I don't doubt that he'd be able to replace that, whether it's like guys like Eric Bieniemy, some other guy who maybe is trying to get his way back into the NFL and wants to work his way up through the running back room or otherwise. I don't doubt at all that I think that Ben will do a good job. And I think it's a compliment that other coaching staffs or other head coaches want to take from your staff, because I think they believe that you're doing something good there.
100%.
All right, Joe, that's everything that we've got for this episode of the podcast. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us on the live stream. Really appreciate it. Make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe. If you're joining us on Facebook, thanks so much for your comments there. Make sure you like us and give us a reaction there as well, hopefully a positive reaction. And if you're listening to us on the podcast, thank you so much for joining us there. Make sure you give us a rating and subscribe. That's also the best way to support us. So, moving on from here, obviously we're not going to be doing every Monday and Friday. We'll be chiming in. We'll do some off-season podcasts. I'll have off-season position and reviews and that kind of stuff for both the offense and defense. So maybe Joe and I will kind of do like, here's an offensive review, here's a defensive review. But as you all know, the NFL calendar never really stops. We got the combine coming up here in a month. Free agency, trades, all that kind of stuff, coaching changes. So we're not going to talk to you guys as much as we do in the regular season, but we will talk to you guys during the offseason. So that's a good reason why to follow us on social media. I'm at Dwojak94. Joe's at Joe Aguilar 64, and we'll make sure to post whenever we'll be doing a live stream. And you guys can always catch us on YouTube or the podcast as well if you miss us live. But for Joe and I, thanks so much for joining us on this Thursday morning. Appreciate all the support we got throughout the 2025 season. We're excited for a big 2026 season. And until then, we'll talk to you folks down the road.